Okay, get ready, because India's entire work life just got a massive shakeup. We are talking about one of the biggest, most fundamental changes to labor laws since the country's independence. It is a lot to take in, but don't worry, we're going to break down exactly what this revolution means for you.
And look, this isn't just some dusty policy change happening somewhere far away. This stuff directly hits your job, your paycheck, your rights, and yeah, your future. It doesn't matter if you're a full-time employee, a freelancer, or part of the gig economy. These new rules are about to change your world.
All right, circle this date on your calendar. On November 21st, the Indian government officially rolled out a brand new set of labor codes. And this isn't just a little update. Nope, this is a complete overhaul of a system that's been around for decades. It's like they took the old rulebook for employment in India, threw it out, and wrote a completely new one from scratch.
And just to give you a sense of the scale here, imagine this tangled, confusing web of over 29 different labor laws. Many of them were old, they contradicted each other, it was a bureaucratic nightmare. Well, all of that has been swept away and replaced with just 4 unified codes. The whole idea? To simplify everything.
So, you might be asking, why do this? Why such a colossal change? Well, the government's main argument is that a lot of the old laws were basically relics from another time, some even from before independence. They were seen as super complex, really restrictive, and a huge hurdle to what's often called the ease of doing business. You know, basically making it simpler for companies to invest, operate, and hopefully create more jobs. So, what's the official sales pitch here? Well, the government is framing these reforms as a huge step forward for workers. Let's actually take a look at the specific benefits they're highlighting, the things they say are absolute game changers for the Indian workforce.
Okay, this table really lays it all out for us, the before and after. And honestly, there are some really big promises here. For the very first time, mandatory appointment letters for everyone, so you have a formal record of your job. Social Security is now being expanded to finally include gig and platform workers. And a minimum wage, it's no longer just for a few industries, it's now a legal right for all workers. On paper, these all look like pretty significant improvements.
And when we dig in a little deeper, we see protections being extended to groups that were often stuck in this legal gray area. Gig workers finally get a formal definition. This means platforms, your Ubers and your Zomatos, now have to contribute to their Social Security. Fixed-term employees get a huge win too. They can now get gratuity after just 1 year of service, not the old 5. And there's this brand new right for all workers over 40, a free annual health checkup, paid for by the employer.
This quote from Prime Minister Narendra Modi really seals the deal on the official narrative. The message is crystal clear. This is all about empowerment. It's a modernizing step that's supposed to benefit both businesses and the workers who make them run.
But, and you probably saw this coming, with a reform this huge, that's not the whole story. Not by a long shot. These changes were actually pushed through with a ton of criticism from trade unions and labor experts. So the big question is, does everybody really see this as empowerment? And this quote from an academic analysis really sums up the other side of the coin perfectly. The big fear here is that these new laws, in the name of making things easier for businesses, have actually made things harder and less secure for the average worker. So let's unpack that critical perspective. A lot of analysts and unions are arguing that these codes are, at their core, employer-friendly. The idea is that they're designed to give businesses more flexibility, but that this flexibility comes at the direct expense of worker security and rights. And this really gets to the heart of the whole debate, right? It's that classic push and pull between giving companies the flexibility they need to hire and fire and adapt, and making sure workers have stable, secure jobs. Let's look at the specific changes that are causing the most controversy. Okay, this right here is a big one. It's one of the most controversial changes. Before, any company with 100 or more workers needed to get government approval for layoffs or to close down. Now, that number has been tripled to 300 workers. What does that mean in practice? It means a whole lot more companies can now lay off staff without needing any government permission at all. And critics are saying this is a massive blow to job security. Now stick with me, because this gets a little technical, but it is incredibly important for your rights. The new codes create 2 different categories, a worker and an employee, and it's mostly based on your role and salary. Here's the problem. The legal mechanism for actually fighting a conflict, an industrial dispute, only mentions the term worker. This has created a ton of confusion, and the fear is that an entire group of people, now legally defined as employees, may have actually lost their legal right to raise a dispute. Critics are also pointing to what they see as a serious imbalance in penalties. For employers, the threat of jail time has been removed for some offenses, and a lot of fines can now just be settled out of court. Meanwhile, for workers, the penalties for participating in illegal strikes have actually gone up.
Okay, so after all that policy debate, let's get down to the brass tacks. The one question that affects every single one of us in our daily lives. With all these new codes, is your take-home pay going to go up or down?
So this all comes down to a brand new definition of the word wages. The law now says that your basic pay, the core part of your salary, has to be at least 50% of your total compensation. This means that all those extra allowances, like house rent or travel allowance, can't make up more than half of your total paycheck.
So here's the chain reaction this could set off. Your retirement contributions, like your Provident Fund or PF, are calculated based on that basic pay. For a lot of us, basic pay was a much smaller slice of the pie. But now, by forcing that basic pay up to 50%, the amount of money you have to contribute every month is also going to go up. And the end result? Well, your monthly take-home pay could actually go down unless your employer decides to restructure your entire compensation package to make up for that difference.
So as we start to wrap this up, what we're left with are two completely different stories. On one side, you have this narrative of modernization, simplification, and boosting the economy. And on the other, a story of weakened worker protections and a real shift in the balance of power.
There's no doubt about it, the main goal here is to untangle a century of complicated laws. The hope is that by making it easier for businesses to operate and invest, they'll create more jobs for a growing Indian economy. That's the core ambition.
But these changes force us all to face a really fundamental and pretty uncomfortable question. In this push for flexibility and growth, has the balance of power between an employer and an employee been tilted just a little too far in one direction? That really is the central unanswered question at the heart of all this.
And that really leaves us with the biggest question of all. As technology and the gig economy continue to completely reshape what it even means to work, what does a truly fair deal for every single worker actually look like in the 21st century? That's the real question we're all going to have to answer.